Hello dear students of class 10th, welcome to Polity class. I hope all of you are fit and fine. Students, in this video I shall be continuing with the first chapter of Polity, that is power sharing. Students, in the previous video I was explaining you that why power sharing is desirable, why power sharing is important. And I also gave you two reasons of power sharing being desirable. The first was prudential reason and the second was moral reason. In prudential reason I told you that that power sharing is important because it reduces the possibility of conflict, because it reduces the possibility of civil war. That is why power sharing is desirable prudentially. And if I talk about the moral reason, then let me tell you that power sharing is the essence of democracy. It is one of the most important features of democracy. Okay, that is why power sharing is very important morally. So, students, in this video I shall be explaining in detail about the prudential as well as moral reasons for power sharing. So let's start with the prudential reasons of power sharing. So the first point, or the first reason that power sharing is important prudentially is, see, social conflict, it leads to violence and political instability. That is why power sharing is a very good way to ensure stability of political order. See, if conflict will be there, war will be there, civil war will be there, and if war will be there, if violence will be there, then it will cause destruction, it will cause damage to both the groups, to both the communities who are against each other. See, okay, so that is why in case of conflict, in case of social conflict, there will be political instability. But if power is shared, then political instability will be not there, stability will be there politically. So that is why power sharing is very important. The second point, imposing the will of majority community over others may look like an attractive option in the short run, but in the long run it undermines the unity of a nation. See, definitely initially if somebody is suppressing the other, then the one in majority, the one in power or the one in authority may feel very good. It may look very attractive and impressive in the short run, but in the long run it is not attractive, it is not at all the right way to rule. If power is not shared, then the people who are suppressed, they will a sense of negativity, a sense of inferiorism will develop within them, and gradually that will lead to revolt, that will lead to violence, that will lead to conflict and social and civil war. So that is why it is very important to share power. Okay. Now let's come to the third point. See, students, tyranny of the majority is not just oppressive for the minority, it often brings ruin to the majority as well. See, war never brings peace. If I talk about Sri Lanka, then the Sinhalas were in majority and the Tamil speakers were in minority. So the Sinhalas oppressed and suppressed the Tamil speaking people or the Tamil community. So as a result of which, what happened? There was a situation of civil war. The Tamil speaking community, they developed a hatred towards the Sinhala community, and both the communities were totally against each other. And as a result of which, what happened? War was there, civil war was there. And as I told you that war never brings peace. So if war will be there, then both the communities will be affected negatively. Thousands of people died. There was a situation of political instability. Nothing was going well. Even though they were in power, the Sinhalas were in power, they were in majority, but they were also ruined. They were also disturbed, damaged and destroyed to a great extent. So that is why power sharing is very, very important. I hope the prudential reasons of power sharing is clear to everybody. So the gist is power should be shared properly, or otherwise it will only cause suffering and damage to both the communities who are against each other. Okay, now students, let's come to the moral reasons of power sharing, that morally why power sharing is important, or why power sharing is desirable morally. Now students, let's come to the moral reasons of power sharing, that why power sharing is desirable. So first of all, power sharing is the very spirit, essence or factor, the most important factor of democracy. So power sharing has to be there in democracy. If democracy is there, then power sharing is a must. Okay. See, a democratic rule involves sharing power with those affected by its exercise and who have to live with its effect. That means it has to be shared with everybody, not only to the people in majority, the people who are controlling it, but to the people who are controlled. Power needs to be shared with everybody. Then only things can go in a smooth, or they can function in a smooth and systematic manner. Okay, students, next point. See, people have the right to be consulted on how they are to be governed. Democracy means what? Democracy means to the people, for the people and by the people. So if people have elected you, if they have cast their votes on you, then they have the right to be consulted on how they are to be governed. So this is the right of the people and they should be given this right. They should be consulted on how they want to be governed. Okay. Now students, let's come to the next point. The next point is regarding a legitimate government. Now what is a legitimate government? A legitimate government is the one where citizens through participation acquire a stake in the system. That means everybody should be given a fair chance of participation in the government. They can become a part of the government. So that is why power sharing is very important morally. So we can conclude from the prudential and moral reasons that prudential reasons we can conclude from prudential and moral reasons that prudential reasons stress that power sharing will bring out better outcomes. The chances of conflict, the chances of revolt or civil war will reduce, and there will be political stability and better outcome that will be there. And if I talk about the moral reasons, then moral reasons emphasize the very act of power sharing as valuable. So that is why the gist is power sharing is very important, it is desirable and it must be done. If power is not shared, then it will lead to conflict, damage and destruction. The democracy will be hollow without power sharing. So I hope that this topic is clear to everybody. Now students, we will be proceeding with the last topic of this chapter, that is forms of power sharing. That means how power sharing can be done. Definitely power has to be shared, but how this can be done, in how many ways this can be done, as there are different ways through which power can be shared. So now I am going to explain you about the different ways of sharing of power. Students, I'll explain you about forms of power sharing with the help of two notions. First is the initial notion and second is after the emergence of democracy. So first let's start with the initial notion. See, initially there was a concept that all power of the government, it must reside with one person or one group or one community only. That means monarchical form of government was there. Now why monarchical form of government was there? This was done so that the decisions they could be taken promptly, they can be taken quickly, because it was believed that if power will be shared, or when it will be dispersed, then in order to take any decision it will take a very long time, or it will be a wastage of time. So that is why, in order to have prompt decisions, monarchical form of government was there, and in that power was restricted or given to one person or one group only. So this was the initial notion, but after the emergence of democracy there was another notion. According to the second notion, people are the source of all political powers. So the second notion says that people are the source of all political powers, and everybody has a voice in shaping public policies. So that is why power must be shared in democracies, because democracy, what is democracy? It means to the people, for the people, and by the people. So people have the right to be involved in making decisions. So that is why power needs to be shared. So I will explain you that in modern democracies, I am going to explain you about the modern democracies, how power sharing arrangements can be done, or how it can take several forms. Okay. So students, the first way, or the first form is power is shared among different organs of government. Now what are the different organs of government? There are three organs of government: the executive, legislature, and the third one is judiciary. Executive means the one who executes, legislature means the one who prepares law, and judiciary means the one who takes decisions. So power is given to all the three organs of the government. Okay, that is the power is given to the executive, the legislature, as well as to the judiciary for proper and smooth functioning of the country and government. Students, this form is called as horizontal form of power sharing. First comes the executive, then the legislature, and then the judiciary. So this chain is called the horizontal form of power sharing. And such a separation ensures that none of the organs can exercise unlimited power, and each organ checks the other. And this results in the balance of power among various institutions. So that is why this is a very important way of power sharing, a very important form of power being shared. And this system, this horizontal system, it explains the system of checks and balances, so that no department, or so that no organ exercises unlimited power. Every organ is having a check on the other. So this is the first form of power sharing. Now let's come to the second form. The second form is vertical form of power sharing. See, power can be shared among government at different levels. As I explained you in the case of Belgium, in the state also had power, the central government also had power, and the state government also has power, and also the community government had power. So this is called vertical form of power sharing. First is the state, then is the cut this line. First is the central government, then the state government, and then the local government. So this is called vertical form of power sharing, and this is seen in federal government. Where it is seen? It is seen in federal government, where different levels they are given different powers, and no organ or no level can exercise unlimited power. And if I talk about federal government, then in a federal government, power is shared between general government for the entire country and government at the provincial or regional level. So I hope federal government is clear to everybody, and this vertical form of power sharing is clear to everybody. Now next we have, students, power can be shared among different social groups. Now what do you understand by social groups? Social groups means groups based on the basis of religion and language. For example, community group in Belgium, this is a very good or classical example of this arrangement. And you know, in some countries there are constitutional and legal arrangements whereby socially weaker sections and women are represented in the legislatures and administration, and this is called as reserved constituencies, where the weaker section, where there is space, where there is place for the weaker section of the society, where they get reserved constituencies. Okay, now what is the advantage of having reserved constituencies? Students, this type of arrangement, this is meant to give space in the government and administration to diverse social groups who otherwise would feel alienated. Alienated means discriminated or deprived from the government. So that is why this form of power sharing is very important. And you know, this method is used to give minority communities a fair share in power, so that they do not feel deprived, so they do not feel inferior. So that is why this method, it gives a fair share or fair chance to the minorities So this method, this gives a fair chance to the minorities so that they do not feel neglected, so that they do not feel inferior. So that is why this method or this way is very important and it has several advantages. Okay. And the last point is, children, that power can be shared by political parties, pressure groups and movements. Now what do you understand by pressure groups? See, pressure groups means interest groups. For example, trade union, farmers union, bus drivers union, conductors association. They are called as pressure groups. They reflect the interest of their community. And if I talk about the movements, then in democracy, political parties are formed, political parties are there, and there is competition. There is competition given there is competition among them in order to gain power, and this competition results in segregation of power. It results in sharing of power, and such competition ensures that power does not remain in one hands or in single hands. That means power is shared among different political parties that represent different ideologies and social groups. One example of this form of government can be coalition government. Now what is coalition government? Coalition government is a form of government in which political parties cooperate. Yes, different political parties, they cooperate to form a government. Now why do they cooperate to form a government? Because this is done when no single party has achieved an absolute majority after an election. When majority is not achieved after the election, then the parties cooperate, they combine, different parties combine to form one government. So this type of government is called as coalition government. And another example, students, in a democracy we find interest groups such as those of traders, businessmen, industrialists, farmers and industrial workers. So these are the examples of such way of power sharing, how power sharing is done in different groups, in movements, in political parties and in pressure groups. So I hope that all the concepts related to this chapter are clear to everybody. I have explained you about the ethnic composition of both the countries, that means Belgium and Sri Lanka. Then I explained you about the majoritarianism concept adopted by Sri Lankan leaders. Then I explained you about the accommodative steps or the accommodation policy or model by Belgium leaders, then how it was very beneficial, why it was beneficial, then why power sharing is desirable, and the last topic, in what ways power sharing can be done. So I hope all the points are clear to everybody, and I also expect and hope that these videos will definitely prove helpful and beneficial to you in the long run. So with this, thank you so much. I'll meet you in the next video with a new chapter. Till then, thank you and be safe.